Don't forget, friends, that this episode is sponsored by M3 Virtual Accounting. Molly Morris can help you manage any online business, and she'll deal with your personal books as well if you need help there. Go to M3 Virtual Accounting, set up a completely free online meeting, and talk with her about what it is that you need, what you're looking for, and she will tell you whether she can help you. She has just been instrumental in getting things under control financially on my end. I wish I had hired her years ago, and I can't recommend her enough. Again, it's m3virtualaccounting.com. Tell Molly I sent you.
This is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Some Spoiled, a Song of Ice and Fire 2, the co-host switcheroo, the rereading Return to Westeros HBO spoiler edition, uncut, uncensored, and too hot for TV. We are covering chapters 30 and 31 of A Dance with Dragons, Daenerys, and our very first Melisandre chapter. Oh, shit. Two ladies. In these chapters, things continue to go extremely well and flawlessly for Daenerys. No problems of any kind on the horizon or directly in front of her. And Melisandre has some tricks up her sleeve. Welcome to Unspoiled.
Monsters are dangerous, and just now, kings are dying like flies.
I am the king!
Fuck the king.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
All right. So, we got to get through Daenerys. We got to have our meat before we can have our pudding.
Yeah.
I hate being like this, guys, but Daenerys' chapters are such a drag. It's a real bummer, man.
It really is. It is. Her situation is so, like, it's... Like, I get it. She's in an impossible situation, right? And she's just stuck there. And that is where we're just stuck here with her, I guess.
Yep.
And each new chapter just, it gets worse and worse.
Yeah.
Like this quagmire that she is in, this quandary.
Quagmire is a real good word for it. It feels like that because it's a slog. Like, it's difficult to move.
It is. Yeah. There's no, like, I was at this point, I'm like, bring the fucking dragons out.
Literally.
Where are the dragons? Like, we're done. I'm done. I am done. This is why it's real easy to quarterback, or what they call it, Monday morning quarterbacking, because I really couldn't be in charge, because my best instincts, to be the best person I could probably be, humanitarian, egalitarian, compassionate, all those things go out the window after a point. Or I'm just like, and also now we're letting people in that are sick.
Yeah.
And like, I want to be the kind of ruler that's like, of course, but no, absolutely not. No. I'm so done with all of this.
And it's like every single solitary person at this point is like saying basically the same thing to her, even when their goals are different. In the end, what it comes down to is simply, you have got to start putting your foot down and going hard. And whether that means you leave these people and go to Westeros, or whether it means you start to fucking torture and take people out or whatever. You've got to start doing shit and make it clear that you are not to be fucked with, because right now everybody thinks you are to be fucked with.
She needs to, and I don't even like, she needs to make a choice. Like she keeps waiting for like the perfect answer that's going to be the way to solve all of this and still not have to make the hard choices. And I just don't think that's on the table. And this not doing anything at all is not serving anyone. It's not serving her either. It's not even serving her ideals of what she wanted to bring to these people, because she can't make good on any of the promises that she's made.
Yep.
And when we have this chapter specifically where we are seeing these two people who make it from Astapor to Marine, and the old woman is like, we were waiting for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's left these people kind of high and dry. And if that's what you're doing, then just make
Own
that the thing you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
mm-hmm.
She's, and I have a tremendous amount of empathy for how difficult her situation is, because that's the thing. Like, there are no good answers to get out of the situation she's in. All of her choices are terrible options.
Yeah.
But she's got to fucking pick one of them.
Yep.
And this reluctance to do so, is going to bite her in the ass. It's already biting her in the ass. And again, if her main objective is how to serve these people and do what's in their best interest, this is not it, ma'am.
Yeah, this is I think, like, your point about just, you've got to decide what you're doing and fucking do it is the main issue, because she is tiptoeing around trying to ensure that nobody gets hurt. And girl, that is a ship that has sailed already.
Mm-hmm.
People are hurt, and they're gonna keep getting hurt,
mm-hmm.
no matter what direction you pick. And the longer you equivocate and dilly-dally,
mm-hmm.
as my old babysitter when I was in 5th grade would have said,
yeah.
the more you prolong the suffering and uncertainty of everybody. Granted, if you take off and go to Westeros, you are leaving a lot of people behind you to die. But they are dying now. It's happening in front of you.
Right.
Like, and you allegedly have had a goal this whole time. So what do you still want that? And do you really think that you're going to find an answer, that it's going to materialize, that simply prevents harm
mm-hmm.
to everybody, like, overnight? What do you think?
Exactly. What do you think is going to, like, what kind of miracle do you think is going to just fall out of the sky and land in your lap? It's going to solve all of this in a nice, tidy bow. That way you can leave without feeling guilty.
Yep.
You know, which is what it feels like at this point. She's just waiting for something to absolve her of her responsibility and her guilt so she can go on to the next thing. And that's not going to happen. And also, the longer you are in this position, but not actively doing anything to maintain a position of strength, you're just further endangering these people.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Like, at least if she left, maybe they would have the agency to figure out on their own, like, if they're fighting to save their lives or they're running to other countries to escape or however they deal with it, you know? But right now, everybody is looking to her to do something, and she's not doing anything. So, like, get out the way then, you know?
Exactly.
And let somebody else who, even if the person's plan ends up not working or being disastrous or, you know, whatever, however the chips may fall, get out the way and let somebody else be in charge who has an idea about what the fuck they want to do.
Yeah. And, like, you know, these people that kept waiting and thinking she was coming, she has this, like, attitude, like, I left you people to rule you. And I'm like, yeah, you left people to rule them, and you left. You hear that part? What do you think keeps anybody in power? Do you think that you could just say so and go, and it's just because you said that they just, nobody questions them and does exactly what they're told? Like, That's not how this works. That's not how any of this has ever worked. What world are you living in that you just expected what you put in place to remain unmolested as if it's like written in stone? You were a stranger to them. You came in and upended everything, put 3 fucking randos in charge to share power, which always goes super well, and then fucking bounced. Anybody could have told you what was going to happen, and they probably did. Well, and they probably did, and you didn't listen to them.
And so that's the thing too, right? Is that now that she's seeing what happens after she left is probably making her even more insistent that she can't leave again, because look what happens when she leaves. It all falls apart. But the thing, and that might be the case, like that, maybe that's just how that's the case. Like that's, you can't be in 2 places at once, you know? So like, and your being here, or being there rather, is not serving anybody in a real sense.
Yes.
So like, if you're going to be there, then you need to like say it with your chest.
Exactly.
Or accept that you can't do the thing that you thought you could. You can't save the people you thought you could save. And that might be a ding to your pride, or might leave you feeling incredibly guilty about your failure. But there's just a sense that she is not facing reality.
Yeah, very much.
You know?
Very much. So.
And I get it, because the reality of her situation is really fucking dire. And like, who wants to admit that things are falling apart in this way? But they are. And if you don't fucking like this whole
yeah, it's just, and like you said with the dragons, she keeps being like, we're not bringing the dragons out. And I just want to be like, then what is the point of you? That's your whole thing. And, you know, I know the dragons are a metaphor for her, like, her essential nature, and she's trying to keep it under control and away in a way that's not effective or helpful. But, oh boy, I'm tired. I'm tired of it. And there's a whole, like, so it starts off with the admiral, let them see your dragons, let them have a taste of fire. Those ships are strangling us, and all my admiral can do is talk of dragons. An admiral without ships builds ships. Girl, what are you fucking talking about?
Yeah.
They're strangling you, and all you can talk about is building ships with lumber from hundreds of miles away. What the fuck do you think that's gonna do? It just starts off bad and gets worse. Like, I have less and less patience with her with every page. Oh, you guys, I'm disgusted. I'm fucking disgusted.
Yeah, and then she gets like you said, an attitude when people mention her dragons. Like they're out of line for suggesting she used the one fucking thing that she has.
The thing that got her everything that she has right now. Like, it has been on the threat of, but I'll use my dragons if you don't do it. And now all of a sudden you're so delicate about it. Get over it. Do anything.
And honestly, she wouldn't even have to, like, she wouldn't necessarily even need to burn an entire city to the ground.
No.
You know, she could just a show of force.
Exactly.
A threat, you know, a reminder. And I know she's not really riding her dragons yet in the books, right? She has not ridden them at all yet, which is wild to me that we're this far into the series and she hasn't ridden them yet.
Yep.
Like, we're already pretty basically at the end of it. But just remind people. And I think that would go a long fucking way to calming down all this energy coming from these other cities that are mounting this getting ready to mount this very serious attack on her. There's like 4 cities that are in, allegiance and bringing in various sellswords and companies, and she could really calm all of that down with one flyover. Even if it doesn't solve all her problems indefinitely, it would buy her a lot of fucking time to figure some other shit
Agreed.
out. And maybe it's because she doesn't know Daenerys at this point in the books isn't really like TV Daenerys where she's got control of her dragons yet. So maybe it's because this version of Daenerys doesn't trust herself or her dragons.
She doesn't trust her dragons at all. Like, one of them brings up, they feed on the flesh of children, and she like freaks out.
Yeah, we're not talking about that right now. That's old. Like, yeah, we're not going to discuss that. But so I know you said a few minutes ago about how like the dragons are a metaphor, and she's trying to keep that part of her legacy and maybe what's in her like tamped down.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's just a lot of, she doesn't trust herself. She doesn't trust the dragons. She doesn't trust herself with the dragons. And I don't know. It's just weird to me that she hasn't gotten there yet. Like this refusal of her to, do I want to say embrace this aspect of her, is really fear-based, you know? And it's like made her unable to move, you know? She's like, you know,
Paralyzed.
bound. Yeah, I was trying to avoid using that word, but yeah, she's, you know, she's
I see what you mean.
Unable to like, she's stuck. She's fucking stuck. And girl, I need you to like, where is the, you know, I am the dragon. I need that.
Mm-hmm.
I need a chapter of her just telling everybody I am the dragon.
Indeed.
And then backing it up with her fucking actual dragon.
Yeah, hard agree. And so there's, she sends him off. I will hear no more about my dragons. Go pray to your Pentoshi gods for a storm to sink our foes. No sailor prays for storms. I'm tired of hearing what you will not do. Go. And I'm just like, oh, you're really alienating the people that are allegedly on your side, girl. I don't like it.
We're also tired of hearing about what you won't do, Daenerys.
Right? Hey. And then our stores are ample. You've planted beans and grapes and wheat. Your Dothraki have harried the slavers and are planting too. And you will have the friendship of the Lazar. And she's like, well, too bad they're fucking useless with fighting. And he's like, yeah, well, that does suck. And she asks about the orphans, and he apparently is like training these guys to fight and are coming along quite well. And she says something about wanting to see them joust, and he's like, yeah, we are definitely not there yet. So then comes Skahaz, the shave pate, with a couple of his brazen beasts. They've been following Hizdar Zolorak. There have been no murders. And as far as this guy is concerned, because Dany's like, oh, good, there have been no murders. That means that, like, he's keeping up his end of the bargain. And this dude's like, there have been no murders, which means he's a fucking harpy. Why are you even considering this? What the fuck?
Not just a harpy, but the harpy.
Yeah, exactly. And
which, by the way, she doesn't even believe. Like,
no.
Like, he believes that there's a singular person sort of commanding all of this activity, and is convinced that it is Hizdar. And she, on the other hand, is not convinced that such a figure even exists, that this is much more of a loosely organized, you know, thing happening.
Yeah.
With no, like, central commander. And I guess what you would call like little cells, you know. And he is just like, I can't believe you're falling for this. Like, it's so clear. And I don't know if he's right. I'm going to be honest, guys. I don't know if Hizdar is the harpy. But that motherfucker is probably a harpy.
Oh, for sure. To me, I know that I don't know this for sure, but I don't know what other conclusion you draw than that this man has the ear of the people who are fucking with you in some way that's crucial.
Danny's just like, oh no, he's probably just paying everybody off. But that
Is
begs
that
the question,
better?
he knows who to pay off though. That's
Yeah.
also a problem.
Yeah. And you guys, like, jumping to the end, this chapter ends with her being like, I need his stars, Lorak. I think I've got to marry him. And I'm like, oh my God. Really?
That's her takeaway. That's her takeaway.
I just I'm so infuriated with her, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. So finally, the Green Grace comes, and Grey Worm tells her the story beforehand about this dude who shows up, a rider on a pale horse who is dying. And he has the bloody flux and tells her that Astapor is burning, or tells them.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the fucking, what was it? I keep wanting to say Melisandre because, like, there's that suspicion, but we had her POV, so now I think that's not true. But Quaithy, yeah, she tells her Death, like, will come riding a pale mare.
Mm-hmm.
So very likely this is what she's talking about. And this dude has all of these symptoms. Daenerys is trying to, like, argue that it's not what it looks like, that, like, oh, it's his horse's blood or it's his injury or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they have to be like, girl, no, we know the difference. And that's not what it was. And when he, let's see, he comes as a harbinger. He comes as a sign of what? A sign of wrath and ruin. She did not want to believe that. He was one man, one sick man with an arrow in his leg. A horse brought him here, not a god. A pale mare. Danny rose abruptly. I thank you for your counsel and for all that you did for this poor man. And, you know, she just decides, I don't want to believe that, and, like, literally gets up and dismisses them.
Yeah, I don't want to hear any of this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just not good. Like, again, not based in reality.
Girl.
So then she's like, I want everybody to come home. Tell everybody they need to come home.
Like, what does that do?
So they send out riders. They're going to, you know, go and try to bring back the Second Sons and her blood riders and whoever else is out in those streets. And she's got all these ships lined up outside of her city. She's got Astapor burning. She's got this guy with this sickness that has come into her city, and he's on a horse, but there are a horde of people on foot making their way towards the city as well.
Yeah.
Not only are these going to be extra mouths to feed, but they're sick people coming. This is all bad news.
And her first response is just like, well, let's let him in then. And everybody's like, what? And it doesn't really seem like she takes anybody's concerns seriously, except for when Barristan finally steps forward and is like, I have seen this illness before, and it has leveled, like, entire armies. Do not do it.
Mm-hmm.
And she takes his counsel seriously. And I'm just like, why is that, girl? Is this just like racism? You know? Oh, the Westerosi said it, so it must be more true than everybody else's concerns. Like, you know, it's not like they don't know anything about what they're talking about. These people have some experience with this shit. I don't like your attitude, frankly.
Yeah, there's a moment, a feeling that, like, I know that there's a weirdness because she's a foreigner, right? And
right.
These are people that she's both lifted up out of enslavement, and also but she doesn't know them. She doesn't know their god, she doesn't know their culture, and she's got so many enemies that exist within this population. I think there really is something about the people that she brought with her, whose counsel she takes much more earnestly.
Yeah.
Right. So I wasn't terribly upset with her that she listened to Sell Me. I was just glad she fucking listened to somebody. There's also a weird moment where she's like missing Jorah's counsel.
Oh my God. You
And
know it's bad when this is, you know, like, God damn.
She's like, he always gave good counsel, though. And I'm like, did he?
Did he? I mean, he gave counsel to the best of his ability. I don't
Right.
know that that's the same as good, but all right. Okay, so yeah, this whole thing eventually, what she says is, well, and as you say, there's like these people who have come from Astapor who they describe these horrific, like the starvation and people drawing straws to see who's going to get killed and eaten.
Oh yeah,
and shit like that. And the woman who had faith in Daenerys is clearly does not think much of her, because all she thought was this: she's coming, and then she like shows up to find this woman just chilling on her throne, not having intended to do a thing and not even aware what was really happening.
Daenerys keeps like, every time that woman is like, we were looking for you to come, Daenerys is thinking to herself, but I couldn't come, I couldn't leave Meereen. But she doesn't actually say really anything to this woman.
No. And then Brown Ben Plum comes in, and I love, and she like gives him a hug and kiss when he comes in because she's so glad to see him, and he's like, oh, I didn't know it was me you were gonna marry.
At first,
nice.
I thought it was Dario too, because they're just like,
right.
They're like, your captain is back or whatever they say. They don't name it, so she gets all excited, and then it turns out not to be Dario at all.
So, Your Grace, the Yunkish got 3 free companies against R2, and there's talk the Yunkishmen sent to Volantis to fetch back the Golden Company. Those bastards field 10,000. Yunkai's got 4 Giscari legions too, maybe more, and I heard it said they sent riders across the Dothraki Sea to maybe bring some big Khalasar down on us. We need them dragons, the way I see it. I'm sorry, Ben, I dare not loose the dragons. If there's no dragons, then, well, we should leave. You want me to loot Meereen and flee? No, I will not do that. And she gets some good news from Grey Worm about the freedmen being trained up enough that at least they won't completely shame her, as he puts it. And she looks around at everybody, and this is when she really misses Jorah. I've defeated the Yunkai before, I will defeat them again. You mean to take the field? The Shave Pate's voice was thick with disbelief. That would be folly. Our walls are taller and thicker than the walls of Astapor, and our defenders are more valiant. The Yunkai will not take the city easily. And Barristan's like, I just think that maybe we should just deal with it and not sit in here submitting to a siege. If we take them without them anticipating we're going to come down on them. And the Shave Pate's like, they have spies. They will know. If we decide that's what we're going to do, they'll find out before we can catch them.
I love this. Ben is like, you know who we need to talk to? Where's that Naharis guy at? What's he got to say about all this? You know, because we're going to need him and his dudes. And she is just like, and internally, she's just like, what the fuck? Why did I do that? Like, because he has not returned. She sent word for him to come back, but he has not come back. And she is just really like, why did I send him away? Like,
yeah.
I have made a lot of missteps, and that was clearly at the top of the list.
And she's like, all right, so go out, Resnack, with some jewels and try to buy some of them over to our side. And put double the watch on the walls, and the Astapori, we cannot turn our backs on them. And she says, we'll keep them outside the walls until this curse has run its course. We'll send them what food we can. Perhaps we can separate the healthy from the sick. All of them were looking at her. Will you make me say it twice? Go and do as I have commanded you. And I'm like, they are looking at you because you're being a fool.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking at you because you're like, let me send people in with food into the sick place, and then they will go home to their families after running this errand. And we'll try and find the ones who aren't sick and keep them away, because that'll be easy to tell. And there certainly won't be sick mixed in with the ones we think are healthy. What are you talking about?
Yeah, this is just a recipe for disaster. So her whole city is about to be overrun with this illness. That's clearly on the table, and that's what I have to look forward to, I'm assuming, for the rest of this book, because I don't see any improvement. And the best thing that's happening for her story on the horizon are these people who are making their way to her as counselors, because they're not really bringing any fucking thing else with them.
Yep.
And if she's not willing to listen to counsel, what the fuck is the point of having them? You know, what is fucking young Griff gonna do? What is fucking the Martell kid gonna do? Quentin? What is even Tyrion? Like, if she's not listening, she's not fucking listening.
Yep.
So I don't know. Unless the one kid, the Aegon kid, unless he really is able to round up, you know, a bunch of fighters and really show up to help her.
Yeah.
Like, the more I read of her POVs as we get deeper into the book, the more I understand why the show just had her fly out of the Coliseum, the dragon. Because how else is she getting out?
Yep.
What else is happening? Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
I have just, and I'll never forget just how, like, unsatisfying that whole thing was and how irritated I was. And now I'm reading a book and I'm like, well, what else can you do?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does get to a point where you're just like, I don't know, Deus Ex Dragona?
Mm-hmm.
All right, sure, let's do that. So that's over. And now we go to Melisandre. Now we get to the fun shit.
Mm-hmm.
So this is our first POV of hers. What do you think?
I mean, what do I think? There's a lot going on here.
What do you think of her as a person? Is she what you expected from being in her head?
Not quite. She's a little, like, there's a moment when she's talking about Davos and how she has kept Devin specifically to save him from harm, because Davos has already lost so many of his sons. And she's just like, not that Davos would ever know or suspect me of, like, doing this nice thing for him. Like, I expected her to have a little bit of, like, ill will towards Davos, because he has been so bold with his distrust of her.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't know. She was, what's the word I'm looking for? From the outside, it's all very like, ooh, what is this sorceress doing? What is she calculating? Like, what is she scheming? All of these sort of things that have a very negative connotation. But then when you're in her head, you're just like, oh, she really is a true believer. She really is just doing what she thinks is the best thing. And it's not malicious at all. It's not conniving at all. She's really just out here on her missionary shit, trying to save the world. Like, she takes it very seriously. Like, she keeps talking about the weight that's on her shoulders.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like, she's really out here trying to save the world as far as she's concerned. Like, she's on her God shit for real. And I don't know. It was cool to have her POV though.
Yeah, I remember being really startled at the fact that she respects Davos, and she's like, and my flames have shown me that his loyalty is, like, in no question.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as I'm concerned, he's like, I've got his back. And it just shows how much she believes in Stannis, that even if somebody is an asshole to her face, she's just like, and I could take that. He's doing what he needs to do for my guy, and I believe in my guy.
Yeah.
So that's fine.
I love, too, that she keeps looking for Stannis in the fires, and it keeps showing her Jon, and she's like, that's not who I'm looking for.
She's like, I need Azor Ahai, and the flames are like, oh my god, girl. Yeah, she's a little bit not. It's funny too, because she's thinking about how, like, you've got to be careful when you read the flames, because they'll tell you what you want, like, or you'll interpret them the way you want them to be instead. And then she's doing that exact shit, like, in the next sentence.
I love it. And we find out that she's like one of the most like, and I don't know if this is, I don't think it's weird because it's her POV, but the way it's written, I don't think it's supposed to be her thinking this about herself, but it's made very clear that she's one of the most skilled people ever to read the flames.
Yes.
And she's still getting this shit wrong because it's not showing her what she wants to see.
She's just got a whole plan in her head about the way things are and the way they should be, and that's just it. So she saw the eyeless faces again staring out at her from sockets of weeping blood, then the towers by the sea crumbling as the dark tide came sweeping over them, rising from the depths. Shadows in the shape of skulls that turned to mist, bodies locked together in lust, writhing and rolling and clawing. Through curtains of great fire, winged shadows wheeled against a hard blue sky. I want to know what the deal is with these bodies locked together in lust. What does that mean? Because, like, the winged shadows against a hard blue sky, that feels like Meereen. The bodies locked together in lust, is that Meereen also? Like, skulls that turn to mist? Why do they turn to mist? What happened there? I have a lot of things that I am.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why I'm not a reader of the flames, because I don't know what the fuck any of this is supposed to mean.
Yeah, fair.
Eyeless faces, sockets are weeping blood.
Well, those are the people that they find later, the Rangers, remember?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Ew, that's right.
Yeah, we get the answer to that one pretty quick, but so she's like, I need to find the girl on the dying horse, because she is sure this is Jon's sister. A girl as gray as ash, and even as I watched, she crumbled and blew away. And she thinks later that this girl is like riding to Jon for protection, and that's why she is assuming this is his sister, because why else would she just head straight for him?
Right.
And she also sees a wooden face. 1,000 red eyes floated in the rising flames. He sees me. Beside him, a boy with a wolf's face threw back his head and howled. So that's Bran and his tree friend there.
Yeah. Yeah. But she doesn't have any. At first she thinks it's Jon, and then she's like, wait, no, but that's not his real face. Oh no, she thinks it's Stannis. And then she's like, nah, it's not his face.
Yeah.
So she's really seeing, this is what's really interesting about this too, is that we've seen her, or we've heard of her seeing things in the fire before, and we've gotten like kind of glimpses that she was really like magic for real, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yes.
She's not like full of shit. But it was really fun to be in her POV as she's really seeing this, because then you're just like, oh, she really is for real.
Yeah.
You know, and then of course, like the big part of this POV is the reveal at the very end, which shows us that, you know, which is funny too, because the show obviously didn't do any of this, but it did have an acknowledgement of the glamour that she can pull off with the
Mhm.
ruby. But it was, I can't remember. There was like no context for that.
In the show?
Yeah.
No.
It was just like, oh, by the way, she's not this hot 28-year-old. She's actually 120, 90 years old.
Yeah.
And then, it was pretend the whole time. But if I remember right, there was like zero, like that was it.
Yeah. It was just basically to let you know that, and that like when she takes her necklace off, that's when the glamour goes away.
Yeah. But there was no connection to any other part of the story. So it's just like, well, what was the point? Oh, I guess because you have to be a beautiful, woman, or she wouldn't have been able to fuck Stannis and getting, you know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know. It just was weird. So the girl in the gray horse, that's not Arya.
Who do you think it is?
I don't know. I feel like I should know. People are probably yelling.
I don't think anybody's yelling.
I don't know. I don't know who that's supposed to be.
And you know what? If they're yelling, let them yell. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, but I don't think it's her. And like, I can't. I was trying to remember. Like, is Shireen a thing in the books?
I mean, we've met her,
but she's just like, where is she? She's just with her mom at Eastwatch still, or
I think so. Yeah.
So she's not. I'm thinking about her because I remembered that on the show. I can't even remember in the books that she had the grayscale, and that of course on the show they end up sacrificing her in the woods. Which I don't know if that's going to be a thing that happens in the books or not. It feels like Stannis is well away from them now, and I don't, you know what I mean? Like, she's not on the road with Stannis in the way that she was in the books and on the show. But I'm thinking about like, but she's so sure it's a girl on the horse, because then there's we know that Griff has the grayscale too, right?
Oh yeah, yes.
So I don't know, guys. I don't know what this is, and it may not even be anything with grayscale, but it's something about just being gray and then crumbling away. That's just kind of where my brain went, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, I'm sorry too. There's a point where I remember explicitly me and Brendan cracking up. So first there's like, her remembering being sold as a slave. Melanie Lot 7, and evidently either she changed her name or they changed her name. And then gray and white swirling around each other as flame arrows arced above a wooden wall, and dead things shambled silent through the cold beneath a great gray cliff where fires burned inside 100 caves. Then the wind rose and the white mist came sweeping in, impossibly cold, and one by one the fires went out. Afterward, only the skulls remained. Death, thought Melisandre. The skulls are death. Really? Wow! What an interpreter. I just... Okay. And this is when she hears John's name. His long face floated before her, limned in tongues of red and orange, appearing and disappearing again. A shadow half seen behind a fluttering curtain. Now he was a man, now a wolf, now a man again. But the skulls were here as well. The skulls were all around him. Melisandre had seen his danger before, had tried to warn the boy of it. Enemies all around him, daggers in the dark. He would not listen. Unbelievers never listened until it was too late. And this is when she is interrupted by Davos' son, Devon, who is half in love with her.
Yeah.
just an adoring boy. And he is of course, appropriately a bit afraid of her,
Mm-hmm.
but mostly just like, she's so powerful and she's really hot. Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
love her.
He's in love with her, worships her, is fearful of her. He's also really salty that he's there serving her because he wanted to go right off with Stannis.
Yep.
So I just love that there's both things happening at the same time. Like, he feels all that about her, and yet he's still salty about being here.
Yeah, he really feels like it was a personal slight
Yeah.
that he was left here.
Yeah, and he's had a slight. It is personal. It's just not a
true.
slight.
Yeah, he has it in his head that he's, being restrained from going out there and getting glory.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, sweetie, no. It's just to keep you from dying. But...
And he's like, of the men that Stannis has left behind, he's like one of the only ones that's actually useful, because he couldn't really spare anybody. So the people he's left behind are really people he couldn't use in the field anyway. Like her sergeant at arms has only got one arm.
Oh my God. I swear to this. Sergeant at arm. So she asks him for some water because she had blood pouring out of her that was smoking.
Yeah.
So this takes it out of her to be able to watch the flames.
Yeah, her magic comes at a great cost to her, we find out.
Yeah.
But she's very careful to not ever let anybody know just how much it costs and just how difficult it is. Like, one of the lessons she learned is that the more effortless you make it look, the more people will believe you and fear you.
Mm-hmm.
And that is actually some real life advice.
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it, but it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And she is this is the one guy, Devin, who does his goddamn job the way he's supposed to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else is kind of not great, not quick or clever, but he's on it. And he tells her that it's almost dawn, and she is so relieved because it turns out, doesn't like to sleep.
Yeah.
She has really bad nightmares, and she can't deal.
And there's a description of her room when the chapter opens, I think, where it's just her room is never ever dark. She's got candles at the window to ward off the night, candles on both sides of her bed, and this fire in her hearth that has to always be lit. You cannot let the fire go out.
Yeah.
And this is when we find out that she usually spends the night sitting by the fire. Even if she's not trying to read the flames, she's, that's where she spends her evenings. And she calls sleep is the little death, which we all know that, but sleep is the little death, dreams the whispering of the other, who would drag us all into his eternal night. Yeah, she is not a fan of night. She is not a fan of sleeping. And you know what? I kind of get it, but also I don't, because it is my favorite thing.
Yeah.
It's just not going well for me lately, but yeah, it is my favorite thing.
Yeah, they're the sort of thing that I, as somebody who suffers from really intricate dreams and bad nightmares, I really get it.
Mm.
And I have often said that dreaming is it's not a feature, and I don't understand why we were built with this. It doesn't help. I mean, I know it does help allegedly, but there have been nights where I wake up and have had just such bad dreams that it taints the whole day because I can't shake those, the either a nightmare or a anxiety. And yesterday, Owen doesn't tend to dream that much, but yesterday he took a nap and he had this horrible nightmare that it was a series of events where everything he did caused some kind of massive problem in public, where he was eventually being chased by the police.
No.
And eventually he turned and ran his car over somebody to get away. And so it was a really an awful dream, and he woke up and he was in a mood for like half an hour after waking up. And it just seems like, why is this part of the deal with sleeping? Like, isn't that something that we could either have happen and not remember so that it doesn't fuck with us? Or if we have to remember it, our mood resets so that we can remember it without the emotion attached to it or something. Like, I just find that really cruel that the one time in our day that we are unconscious and away from the troubles of the world, we aren't. Not even then, come on, give me a fucking break. Anyway.
I like the idea too of, because we don't know that much. We know that she was a slave and that she was bought to serve in the temple, but we don't know exactly what that entailed. And her nightmares could be about, what her life was like when she was growing up before she was bought into the temple. We don't know what was going on with her, how bad it was.
Yeah.
So, and then the whole religion itself is very much about the night, it's full of terrors, I hear.
So we hear,
all of this really like kind of checks out, but there's a sadness to it as well. When you, I don't know, there's something that's really sad to me about the fact that she doesn't sleep and she doesn't eat, though she doesn't seem to need to eat, which is a little bit different than her lack of sleeping. This feels very, kind of supernatural. R'hllor provided her with all her nourishment that her body needed, but that was something best concealed from mortal men. And also the fact that she's separating herself from mortal men is also, just something maybe you want to keep your eye on, is all I'm saying.
Anytime that you're like, don't tell the mortals, you got to stop and go, what? Don't tell the who? So it says it was Jon Snow she needed, not fried bread and bacon, but it was no use sending Devon to the Lord Commander. He would not come to her summons. Snow still chose to dwell behind the armory, in a pair of modest rooms previously occupied by the Watch's late blacksmith. Perhaps he did not think himself worthy of the King's Tower, or perhaps he did not care. That was his mistake, the false humility of youth that is itself a sort of pride.
Mm-hmm.
And I really love that line.
Yeah, it's very good.
It was never wise for a ruler to eschew the trappings of power, for power itself flows in no small measure from such trappings.
Mm-hmm.
And then she follows it up with like, but he's not an idiot, and he doesn't come running when I call to him either. And he makes me come to him, and sometimes he won't even see me, which, as annoying as that is a good move.
Yeah. She's like, that's pretty smart. I gotta give it to him. And then she tells Devon to go get the wildling, which by she means Rattleshirt. And she's like, go get him like right now. I need to talk to him. And I was just like, yeah, let's do that. Because there was this whole thing about, and I can't remember what I said, but I had said something in the last episode about Rattleshirt and the connection. I think maybe you asked me, maybe pointedly you asked me about what I thought was going on there, maybe the last John chapter or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, he fights Rattleshirt, and you said that you were thinking by the end of that fight, when he's surprisingly strong, that we were going to find out he was being aided by magic, that there was like cheating happening.
Right, that's what it was. Thank you for remembering, because I couldn't remember exactly what was going on. And so we find out, not necessarily that maybe he was cheating and that the magic aided him, but the way he was moving, I don't know if the glamour had like a disorienting effect on Jon or not, or if it's just the fact that Mance Rayder is that dude. He's really fucking good.
Yes.
And Jon thought he was fighting just Rattleshirt, who shouldn't be that fucking good.
Yeah.
But either way, but we're getting ahead because he doesn't show up. We don't get that till like the very last minute. But yeah, when she sends for him, I was immediately like, yes, let's have a chit chat. I want to know what the fuck is going on here. And I remember further back, I was confused about why because I couldn't remember exactly how it worked out, but why Rattleshirt was in the Solar with Stannis and Melisandre, and like why he was like in this position at all to be left behind to be in charge. Like it just seemed like something weird,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
yeah, you were just like, him? He's kind of a piece of shit. Wasn't he like also a coward? I don't get what's happening here. You were asking all the right questions, Rashawn.
So she tells Devin to go bring him up, and quickly. I like that too. And then we find out about her getting dressed in all her sleeves and all her powders and whatnots.
Yeah, I love that she's just like, I can do magic here that I can't do anywhere else.
Yeah.
So at least I've got that, because her powders are running out and she knows how to make more, but she doesn't have any of the ingredients to do it. And I love when Rattleshirt shows up. It's not revealed in her mind that he isn't who he looks like.
Right.
She just says that the magic is about the bones and they expect to see those, and you don't have them on, and you need to make yourself look like what they expect to see. So it's made very clear that there's something happening here.
Yeah. She even talks about there's something going around him. He's cloaked in shadows, wisp of green and brown. And I was like, what? I literally was just, what? Because it starts off with he's wearing a sleeveless jerkin of boiled leather. So I thought we were about to get, one of those paragraphs that's just very descriptive. George loves those. So I was all ready for just that. But then it started, shadows. And then I was like, does he have a cloak? Is that just like a very literary way to describe the color of the cloak he's wearing? Like, what are you doing, George? Because I just wasn't thinking that it was going to be anything like what it turned out to be. So I was confused.
That is really funny. Just like, oh, is he just waxing poetical
right?
without a fucking cloak? Okay. Wisps of shadow indeed. And it says Melisandre felt the warmth in the hollow of her throat as her ruby stirred at the closeness of its slave.
I said, "What is happening?" And then there's a whole. I guess it's a little bit later on when you talk about the ruby in his bracelet. That's closer to the reveal, right? I think that
I think so.
Yeah. But so when it says this thing about the closeness of its slave, I was thinking, is that literally the person? Is she controlling Rattleshirt with her ruby? That's what I was thinking. Because I wasn't thinking like the slave is, I think, the little ruby that he's wearing that is doing the glamour for him, right?
I guess that's probably. I was thinking it was him, but you're right. I think it is just the stone itself.
But because without the proper context of what's happening, my mind did the same thing, thinking that he's literally enthralled, right? I was like, well, what is? I said for a second, I was like, okay, well, that would explain why she trusted him to put him in this position of power, or, in regard to Stannis and being suddenly elevated in this way. Because I was just thinking it was literally he was being controlled by her magic.
Right.
Because why would I think anything different? Why would I think it was anything other than that? Because what it ends up being, who sees that coming?
True enough. So at this point, he says something about how he feels the glamour when he sleeps. But sometimes in my dreams, it starts to burn and your lips turn into teeth. Every day, I think how easy it would be to pry it out, and every day I don't. Must I wear the bloody bones as well? The spell is made of shadow and suggestion. Men see what they expect to see. The bones are part of that. And then she thinks to herself, did I do the wrong thing keeping this fucking idiot alive? Which I do really like that moment of just like, oh man, did I fuck this up? I don't know why, but that just every time cracks me up.
It's really funny. And she tells him, if the glamour fails, they will kill you. Now, because of the show, I remembered about like her whole glamour. So as soon as I read that, I was like, uh-oh, who is this? But if I hadn't, I don't know if I would have stopped long enough to even think about like what she literally means in this moment. I would have just kept probably reading. But yeah, what does he say? He starts talking about I don't care if they kill me. A man should die the way he lived. And for me, that's steel in hands. Like, does every character have to always be just ready to die? Like everybody is just like, I don't care.
Literally.
Just, I don't care. I can die the way, it's fine.
So she's like, all right, the true enemy is moving. So just keep your fucking pants on. And she says something about that they're going to find the Rangers with their eyes cut out. And he's like, that's the Weeper's work with a capital W. The best crow is a blind crow, he likes to say. Sometimes I think he'd like to cut out his own eyes, the way they always watering and itching. Snow's been assuming the free folk would turn to Tormund to lead them, because that's what he would do. He liked Tormund, and the old fraud liked him too. If it's the Weeper, though, that's not good. Not for him and not for us. And Melisandre nodded solemnly, as if she had taken his words to heart. But this Weeper did not matter. None of his free folk mattered. They were a lost people, a doomed people, destined to vanish from the earth as the children of the forest had vanished. Ouch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, y'all don't matter.
Right?
And she's like, but he does not want to hear any of this. And I can't risk pissing him off. So I'm going to keep all that to myself.
I mean, just like, it's one thing to be like, look, you guys don't have a big part to play in all this. It's another to be like, all of you are going to be wiped from the earth. Like,
yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. I like too that she's just like, those are not words that he wants to hear. Ma'am, nobody wants to hear that. Yep. There's not anything particularly special about him. Nobody wants to hear that.
So, let's see. The wildling's own eyes narrowed. I read that part already. Okay, so then she says, how well do you know the North? There's a girl on a dying horse, Jon Snow's sister. I've seen her in my flames, but only once. And he's like, you want me to save her? And he's just like, dude, Rattleshirt ain't getting trusted with saving a girl. No how, no way. And I know that he'll send the crows if it comes to that. And she's like, oh, he won't do that because the Night's Watch isn't supposed to take part and he takes his vows seriously. And he's like, okay. And as we wind up seeing, he was much more correct than she was about this. She details like some of what she has seen, and he knows like around where she probably is. Yeah.
And that's the one thing that, like she says at the beginning of her chapter 2, is that she really hasn't had any additional information to give Jon about his sister since the first bit. She needs to get a better idea of where she actually is, so that she can then sort of take that info to Jon. And it turns out here that he's super helpful because she gives him some clues about what she's seen in her flames, and he's like, that sounds like it could be this. It might be that, maybe over on this side. Oh, she's definitely not over there then, if you saw that, very helpful information.
Yeah, I really enjoy the like, it's sort of crazy to me listening when she's just like, oh, it's this real long, this lake that goes on forever. And he's like, Long Lake. And I'm like, okay, sure, Long Lake. But then I'm like, if somebody was like, oh, it looks like there's a sign with like a starburst on it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's the Walmart. Okay, he's like right around the corner. It's like the same thing technically with the kind of, markers that you use, but it's just when it's something natural. I don't have that kind of context mostly unless it's really obvious. So at this point he's like, all right, well, let me go and deal with that. And she's like, no, they are about to find their guys and they are going to be real pissed and they're going to be looking for somebody to take it out on. So you need to stay in here away from it until they calm the fuck down. And she goes out to find Jon. And as soon as he sees her, he's like, all right, we need to talk. Which is what she had said, was that you don't believe me now, but once you find them, you'll believe me then. Yeah. And indeed he does. And they're not sure where the wildlings are that left these things to be found. And the ground is so frozen that the fact that the spears are driven so deep into the ground makes them rather suspicious that it would have taken a long time to do. And what if they're here? What if they're still here? Like watching us finding these guys? Just a real feeling of paranoia and almost like the wildlings are magic a little bit,
Jon is like, no, ghosts would have their scent if they were still around here. And Ed is just like, I hope they burn the bodies. And Ed says the Weeper. So that person, this wildling called the Weeper is well known. And even the Night's Watch are concerned that he's out there, amassing followers and killing men of the Night Watch. Even though Jon doesn't really say anything about that. He doesn't really have a comment when Ed says that.
I love that when she pairs up with Jon, she makes sure to slow down so that he'll notice that the ice drips when she walks past. There's just something about the fact that she is so careful about like the drama of it all and the appearance of the power. It's effective. Clearly we have been in his POV and seen him noticing these things.
Yeah.
So it works, but I just find it funny that it's not happening by circumstance. It's like her choice to let him see certain things and she has to put effort into it.
Yeah.
So
first thing he does is ask about the other guys that are out there. Like, how are the other guys? And she's like, I haven't seen them. And he asks her, well, can you take a peek?
Can you take a peek?
So he's like, it starts right off with him asking her for a favor to use her powers, for him. And I don't know. It's not the first time, but it feels like a real, or is it the first time that he's explicitly asked her to look for something for him?
I think it is the first time. If it's not, I just don't recall. Somebody can correct me. But
it feels like it feels significant. And she's very gracious about it. She's just like, of course, my lord. But there's like, it could have very well been a moment in her head where she's like, got him. but we don't get that.
And she is trying to like interpret her visions as she's talking to him. And she mentions towers by the sea. And he says Eastwatch. And I really liked this. Eastwatch? Was it? Melisandre had seen Eastwatch by the sea with King Stannis. And the towers in her fire had been different. But that was off the way with visions. And that was sort of interesting to me that like, I believe her. That she knows whether or not it's like actually right or not according to her gut. Because earlier up the page, could the skulls in her vision have signified the bridge? Somehow Melisandre did not think so. So to a certain point, it's just her judgment. But the fact that like the visions don't always exactly match things, even though she has seen them before, I think is like, it's sort of, it could just be like, oh, it's like a dream where you sort of know somebody is a person, even though in the dream they don't look like that person.
Yes, which is always so fucking weird.
It is so weird. Or it could just be like, it's showing you a view from a direction that you didn't see it from. And so the towers don't look the same to you, but those towers are there and you're just not seeing it from the exact viewpoint that you had seen it when you were physically there.
Right.
Who knows? Maybe it's either of those things. But maybe that's not Eastwatch and she's just wrong. But and she says yes, and she says, on the morrow, in a moon's turn, in a year. And it may be that if you act, you may avert what I have seen entirely. And I was just like, I don't feel like that's super helpful. John says good. And I'm like, is it? Oh.
I was thinking that his good was the idea that he still has an opportunity to intervene and change what she's seen. When she says, if you act, you may avert what I have seen entirely. And then he goes, good. She also says, because what else is the fucking point of having these visions if I can't, we can't act to change it? Which I really appreciate, because that's something that very rarely ever gets brought up when people have, visions and prophecies. It's always like, it can't be changed. And she's like, no, we can change it.
Yeah, agree. It's a kind of a relief. So then they get surrounded by men asking, like, who was it that turned up dead? And there's this guy who's like, definitely wasn't Garth. And John's like, yeah, it was Garth. And he's like, no.
Yeah, this is so terrible for whoever this man is.
I know. And Melisandre's like, hey, I have more to talk with you about. Can we go somewhere and have a little chit chat? And she brings him in and is like, I need to talk to you about your sister. And he gets quite distracted by the Lord of Bones being here. And he's insinuating that maybe this dude betrayed these men to the Weeper. Maybe it's part of your plot, And he's like, oh, betrayal. How about Ygritte? What about her, bud? And I was like, come on. What are you bringing this shit up for right now?
Right.
What is that doing?
And then soon as he drops Ygritte's name, he turns around to Melisandre and is like, I'm going to need horses. I'm going to need this. I'm going to need that. And John is like, what? What the fuck are you talking about? There's like, he just dives right into the plan him and Melisandre have before even bringing John up to speed. And again, as this is supposed to be Rattleshirt, I'm reading this, I'm just like, he is moving with a very different, energy than, the way he's always been behaving a little bit weird since he's been Rattleshirt, right? But this is just because he's not pretending to not be who he is anymore, right?
Yes.
But as a reader, I don't really clock what's happening all together just yet. But you're like, what the fuck? Something is not right.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And John is like, all right, what is he talking about? And Melisandre's like, again, your sister. You can't do anything, but he can do something. And John is like, the fuck he can. He isn't going anywhere near her. I bet he would fucking rape her the instant he found her. And finally, Melisandre's like, okay, I gots to. Devin, get out. And she reveals who this Rattleshirt actually is.
Yeah.
Mance Rayder.
Mance fucking Rayder, y'all. He's not dead. This is so good. This was so fun. What a delightful twist that I absolutely did not see coming. There was no way I could have known this was happening. I don't know how. I never got spoiled on this. I don't remember. There are some big moments in the books that the show handled one way or the other, and I remember commentary about it. When Mance Rayder dies on the show, I don't have any memory of anybody being like, oh, I hope they do the thing, They're going to do the thing. I don't have, I did not see this coming at all. It was so delightful.
Hey! Love it.
Yeah, this was really, really fun.
And like, remember when Mance Rayder was burned and he was like, I'm not even Mance. And you just think at the time that he's like so desperate to stay alive that he's just like denying himself.
Right,
like,
right.
It just comes across as really pitiful and
That's
like,
because it's a terrible. Remember how we talked about what a terrible death it was?
exactly.
Even though being burned alive, like I'm not going to hold that against anybody. You're going to start screaming whatever the fuck. But we did talk about like, wow.
Yeah, you were like, I expected better from him,
right?
Basically.
But yeah.
Can you imagine that they like transform you into looking like a guy and then burn you alive and you're just like your last words are trying to convince everybody?
Oh,
what a fucking nightmare.
And everybody's just like, oh, you're dying so terrible, bro.
Like, yeah, this is embarrassing, dude. Have some fucking dignity.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. What a fun surprise. Just getting something that just like I, just never saw coming. And I know that you've told me there's going to be a bunch of shit that's like really off page from the show that is going to be new information for me, but I wasn't really expecting to be surprised by any big twist because I just figured that anything that big I would be spoiled on already.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun that there was something that like I just didn't see coming at all.
Yay.
Also, John was also surprised. I don't want to I don't want to.
Very much so. And Mance is like, it was this, or let Stannis roast me. And here Melisandre says something.
She sure does, about a fucking bag of finger bones.
Yeah, what's what you doing, Melisandre? What's up?
Jeez.
What's up?
What's up? Exactly. What's up? Yeah. I don't even know what to do with that little tidbit, so I'm just going to put it to the side for right now because I don't even want to go down that fucking tinfoil hat wormhole that would be me trying to figure out if something's up with Davos, and I just don't want to. You hear me? I don't want to. You can't make me.
Especially like Davos thought he lost it. So he's like been under the impression like, oh, I lost my luck. Mm-hmm. And it's like, maybe it was taken.
Mm-hmm. I was trying to remember when he noticed it was gone. What were the circumstances of him realizing that it was gone? And it was when he was stranded and almost like drowned and was on that rock for a long time.
I can't remember if he notices then or if it's once he wakes up in the cell.
Yeah, I can't remember either. But I was like, did he lose it in the water, or did he wake up and realize it was gone? Which means that somebody may have had an opportunity to steal it from him. I don't know.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not going down that route. I'm not doing it. So.
And then here she made it sound a simple thing and easy. They need never know how difficult it had been or how much it had cost her. And it turns out that while the fake Mance was burning, she had started to like think, oh my God, oh, this is, oh God, is it going to like fry me?
Yeah.
And even though Stannis was real pissed that Jon shot him, she was like, thank you. Oh my God. Yeah. I don't know if I could have taken that.
Yeah.
Something about that that's really funny.
I don't know, like, because I'm assuming she would have had to have put like some type of ruby on Rattleshirt to have the glamour of the Mance glamour around him, right? So, but yeah, this is just like, and she had to stand there all stoic and shit while her throat is burning and like on fire. Yeah, I enjoyed that moment too, of just being like, oh, thank fucking God. Because there's no way she could have hurried that along herself, you know? She would have just had to stand there. John.
And she says, our false king has a prickly manner, but he will not betray you. We hold his son, remember, and he owes you his very life. Me? Snow sounded startled. Who else, my lord? Only his life's blood could pay for his crimes, your laws said, and Stannis Baratheon is not a man to go against the law. But as you said so sagely, the laws of men end at the wall. I told you that the Lord of Light would hear your prayers. You wanted a way to save your sister, and still hold fast to the honor that means so much to you, to the vows you swore before your wooden god. There he stands, Arya's deliverance, a gift from the Lord of Light and me. And if I was him hearing this speech, I would be like, all right, what's your angle?
Right.
Now that we're in her head, it really does seem like she's kind of for real.
Yeah. This whole POV was a pleasant surprise. Like you said, it was the first time we get one. I don't know if we get any more. But some of the odd POVs that we've gotten, sort of one-offs, have been not necessarily they weren't people that I didn't care about. They were just people I didn't know, like people I hadn't met yet.
Yeah,
most of the time. So having it be a character that I've been watching and reading about for so long, and then suddenly get thrust into her POV was very cool.
Yay! All right. Well, like I said, Daenerys was a bummer, but we got some dessert, so that was good anyway.
Yeah.
Do you have any guesses, theories on anything else happening?
I do not. I'm excited to read, though, even though I did see what the next POV is. But even still, I'm still like looking forward to reading it.
For those wondering, it's Reek.
Oh yeah, I wasn't going to say anything in case people didn't know. And not that anybody is unspoiled reading. I guess at this point, I can't imagine anybody else is unspoiled. But in case you are, I wasn't going to say anything. But yes, it's a Reek chapter coming up next, and I don't love it, but I know that Asha is out there somewhere on her way to him, and not that I necessarily expect to see her this soon. You never fucking know. I don't know.
True.
Also, Ramsay has been out here making moves. He's on his way to Winterfell, or he's there already sending letters out. Might get to see what's going on with all that. I'm sure it's horrifying, but I do kind of want to know. So
indeed.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know what the other one is. I only saw the first chapter that we're reading. I don't know who the second chapter is going to be about yet, and I'll leave that to be a little surprise for myself.
I think that's a good plan.
Yeah.
I just realized. Did you read the next 2 chapters in Hunger Games already?
I did, yes.
Okay. You had said yesterday, I'm doing that before we even record. And I was wondering if you kept your word on
I read them last night.
What do you think?
Very, very good.
It's
very hard to stop.
Yeah.
Very, very. I probably would have been better off not even reading those 2, but I could not help myself. Yeah. So now all I have left is the last chapter, which you are going to do live. So I have to fucking wait until Friday, which sucks for me.
Yeah. Sorry about it.
Are you? You're not.
I mean,
you're not sorry at all.
Nah, fair. You got me. All right. Well, before we wrap up, we've got to say hello, and everybody brace yourselves because it's time for new patrons. Woo! The only one we've got this week. We said good day to on the old Hunger Games episode, Roman Roy.
Hey.
And that man, those of you who are not aware, is a Succession character. Jerks off against a window. Real weird scene. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
And it was weird. Moment.
It was weird because when I started watching Succession, I want to say it was close to House of the Dragon, and so it was like again another kid jerking off to the sky. Like what is going on in our country right now?
Exactly. I'm so glad that you bring that up because I thought the same thing when I saw that scene. I was like, man, everybody is just like into this. I guess. But anyway, thank you to Roman Roy for joining the ranks of Unspoiled supporters.
Welcome.
And there's lots of them. And I'm really excited to also see how many people we've just got following us, even though they're not paid patrons. They're getting the updates and everything. And I can't emphasize enough, you guys, how important it is, if you want to know what's going on, to go to patreon.com/unspoiled and at least become a free patron, because I've been having a lot of computer issues. I've been behind on stuff because of it. And there have been folks kind of like messaging me or, and whatnot, and being like, what's going on? If you would just go over there and do the thing, you would know. I post it to everybody for all of you to see. And that way there'll never be a mystery again. You'll always be informed, and you'll always feel like every time you see somebody else going, what's going on? You're going to feel all smug and be like, I know what's going on. So do that. And if you can afford to throw us a few bucks a month, buy us a coffee once a month. You don't even have to buy each of us a coffee. $5 a month, you're buying one of us a coffee, which I think is pretty good. Or I guess you could be buying two of us plain coffees, which, I'll do something with that. I can add some half and half and make that work. But if you can do that, do it and help us pay the bills. Help me give Rashawn some money. Help Rashawn's mom keep her apartment. All this good stuff. It all trickles down and
It really
actually does instead of not doing that. Did you see this thing that some woman got given a bunch of money by somebody? Like, I can't remember who he was, but he was someone somewhat famous. And he paid for all of the business she would get for the day so that she could close up
Keith
and
Lee.
still pay her people.
Yeah, he's talking about the food influencer, Keith Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what he did is he paid her a bunch of money so that some of it could go to her and her staff, but the rest was supposed to let everybody eat for free that day.
Right.
She was treating like people just come get her food. It's so good or whatever, and they can eat for free. And she ended up just keeping all the money herself and charging people that rest of the day when it was supposed to be free for everybody. I don't know how she got caught and put on blast because I haven't been following it other than just like the headline. But yeah.
Amazing. Just pocketed it and then really thought she could go on with her life.
Mm-hmm.
Are you kidding?
And now she's crying on Instagram or wherever she lives. She's getting dragged, rightfully so, too.
And it's it's her whole business. And you just sank it for a couple grand. Is it worth it?
It surely is not.
Just,
trying to block other people's blessings will always blow up in your face.
It's true.
It just will. Don't be that guy, y'all. Don't be that guy.
So, bless us if you can. And if not, make sure to mention us to people. And, make sure to warn them that we do call Stannis Stanley and occasionally forget what Essos is. But if they can deal with that, they get treated to delightful, delicious tangents. So maybe we don't make the recipe technically correctly, but we have delicious sauce and it kind of makes up for it. If you dunk it and forget the fact that the breading is missing something. Anyway, that's a really tortured metaphor.
That
Thank you,
really got away
listening.
from you.
Until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Joffrey, Cersei, Walder Frey, Merenchant, Tywin Lannister.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.